All right, so we introduced something this week on The Revenant that was kind of a big deal. A lot of you guys were asking, okay, all of you were asking about the underwater skills. And we couldn't show them before. They weren't quite ready. The best we could do was stick the Revenant in a body of water and they would just stand there.
Yep.
But now we have underwater skills to show off.
That we do.
And they're ready to show. We've got two. We have Malix and Shiro, right?
And harpoon, or spear, yeah.
Yeah, spear. All right, let's take a look because you're trying something new with these two.
Yeah, so this weapon kit is a bit different. You'll see in the background some of the fights, me fighting underwater to show off some of the skills. So this weapon set's a little bit different where the first two skills on your bar are actually two different auto attacks. The first one is a ranged projectile attack. It applies more torment the farther out the target is from you. So something you'll want to use at range and more of a conditioned style play. The second attack is a physical flurry that's a little bit longer than normal melee range that applies full on the target. So it's kind of like good for a hybrid feel, or you can choose to stick with one or the other. It's good because you can stack up full to increase your conditions as well, your condition output damage, or if you just want to stick with one or the other. It also creates a cool like melee versus range feel and gives you something you can constantly do at range or at melee. And this...
It helps as you're coming in too.
Yeah, for sure. And this plays into the rest of the weapon set as well. They all kind of have this hybrid feel. So the third attack, the initial attack, sends out this orb, a poisonous orb that sends out from your character like towards a target. Basically, as it's moving, it'll attack other creatures along its path, sending out other projectiles from it, kind of like spraying out from this mist orb, poisoning targets. Then you get the option while it's out as a flip-over skill to basically detonate this orb for a blast of damage as well, to be more of the physical portion of it. You can leave it out to do more condition, or you can choose to toggle it for a burst of damage, or both if you want as well. The fourth skill works similarly. Basically, you throw your spear and connect to them, and while you're connected to them, it pulses burning on the target, so the more condition-focused damage. But then you get the flip over, which allows you to teleport to that target and deal a big burst of damage in an AoE. So you can do cool things like send out the orb, and then right when it's getting close or kind of near it, you use the 4 to connect to the target. Then you can burst the orb and teleport in there for like a big spike, followed up by like the number 2 melee auto attack. And then the number 5, which you just saw on screen a bit, is you basically create these 2 rifts above and below the target, and after a short delay it forms, creating this like prison or like mist prison around the target. And while they're inside, they can't leave that area, and it pulses damage on them as well. Yeah.
Awesome. So there's your first look at the underwater skills.
Yeah, and we converted Shiro and Malix.
All of this ties into how you made this spec. Let's just look at the shield skills first, since we were talking about the Flame Seeker prophecies. You have
okay.
the shield on there.
Yeah. So
Nice
you
choice.
can see. Yeah, I thought those shields looked pretty cool. Shield and sword. So both of these skills are more support focused and kind of heal focused. So you can think of, yeah, always gotta have the moose. So you can think of this first skill almost as a supportive version of like Phoenix from Elementalist. You basically send out this dragon energy from your shield to a target area. Allies that it passes through, it gives protection to them, and when it reaches its point, it bursts for a heal in an area, then comes back to you. And on the way back, it also gives protection. So you can give allies, like lining them up, give them protection on the way there and on the way back. You yourself only get protection when it comes back to you. But you can use it like right on top of yourself for like a more selfish like burst heal, or you can use it to support allies, and it's this cool play of like lining up allies to get the most out of the protection, and positioning matters, and you'll see some of that with the facets as well.
Yeah, it follows you, and if you move around, the originator, it will follow the originator of the skill back.
Yeah, it will always come back to you, basically. So it's a cool way to get some healing and protection for your allies, become a bit more tanky. In general, Revenant kind of lack protection, and you'll see it in a few areas on Glint to add to that more like tanky support. A lot of Glints and Heralds feel are support through boons and buffs. So we went with that theme a lot, which complements a lot of the other legends really well.
I really like the lining up the allies thing. Anything positional, I'm kind of in favor. I kind of lean toward right now because I'm very bad about that. Historically, as somebody who could just hang back and rain fire from the skies, I didn't have to do that too much.
It can definitely be challenging.
But it's helping me. It's helping me. It's something that I need to pay attention to.
Yeah, for
sure. So here's a lot of moose and crystal hibernation.
Yeah. So this next skill. You basically summon crystal energy around your character to protect yourself. This skill is pretty unique as it offers a Defiance bar, as seen on some creatures, for the player. You basically go into the state where you're immune to damage and immune to incoming conditions. Previous conditions on you still pulse for damage, so you're still susceptible to those things. But while you're in it, you basically regenerate health over time as well, but it comes at a cost due to the Defiance bar. So the Defiance bar protects you against control skills while it's active. But
Kind of had a lot of fun looking over.
sure. So this is the first facet. It's facet of nature, and it really ties into all the other skills. So the way facets work are the first press is always an upkeep skill, so it costs energy regen to keep it active. Facet of nature costs 2 energy upkeep to basically keep it active, and while allies are around you, it basically pulses 50% outgoing boon duration to them. So since Glint is all about providing boons with facets, it really boosts up your other facets playing into those, as well as it works really well with other support characters you're playing with, or other people stacking might, like a Phalanx Warrior or something like that, or with an Ellie. And then the active skill, One with Nature, basically takes all the other boons from the other facets and gives them out in a burst around you to allies for longer durations, of course, not the pulsing values, but it's a way to kind of like connect it back to the other facets. So it's kind of like, even if you don't decide not to run the Glint Legend, you still have these boons that you can give out to allies that come from the facets.
Nice. Look cooler.
Yeah, for
once
sure.
we get there.
I'll explain that in a second. So the heal skill, Facet of Light, while it's active, you basically pulse AoE regen to allies around you as a way to heal. All of the facets on the right half of your bar all apply boons, so they tie into the Facet of Nature, increasing boon duration. So you have pulsing regen around you to heal allies over time. Then the active skill that flips over is Infuse Light. You basically consume the Facet of Light and heal yourself for a bit. And it gives you this buff that inverts all the incoming damage to you into healing, kind of like Defiant Stance for the warrior. So it's basically trading the AoE healing that you would be giving allies for some personal healing. And one thing you'll notice is a lot of these skills don't have a bit longer recharge than you normally see on Revenant, and that's because we wanted to create this interesting trade-off where you have these facets that you can keep up, kind of like auras that you have around you, but then you trade them off for these more bursty active effects, and you have to make the choice between which ones you use.
I want to mention, as you're doing this too, keep an eye. Oh gosh, that was a terrible pun, and it was an accident.
They're skillful, where you have to know where people are.
It was fine.
And a radius around you to pull them out.
I was happy with it.
And that used the dragon's eyes, so it plays into like him revealing the area around you. This next one is Facet of Elements. The passive effect around you is pulsing swiftness to you and your allies. So all of you guys who are looking for swiftness on the Revenant, this is a great way for you and your allies to have move speed in and out of combat for moving around. And then the active of Facet of Elements uses the Dragon's Breath for Elemental Blast. And as you can see, it basically calls down the breath at ground target area, and it does damage with each tick and applies a different condition as well. The first pulse is weakness, the second one is chill, then the third one is burning. So it's a way to add like damage, some soft control to an area. Just if you are, it helps a lot too for like those Condi builds, adding some more spike, things like that. It's pretty like decent damage as well.
Magical Dragon Breath sounds so cool. It sounds like it would be a good thing. It is not a good thing for your enemies.
Yeah.
I do love it.
Pretty interesting. These skills can be used in a lot of different ways. So a lot of them are more like pulsing support things for the facets, and the actives are more offensive focused. The next facet is Facet of Strength. This pulses might to you and your allies while it's active. So allies around you basically get stacking up might. Then the active, which uses the dragon's claws for its effect, are Burst of Strength. You basically do 2 swipes, like imagine a dragon swiping at the target in front of you, and it's kind of like a skill shot. It's always in front of your character. And you swipe twice, and it has some pretty good damage on it, but each strike also applies 10 stacks of vuln. So it's this quick burst skill that you can use to quickly weaken targets right in front of your character. And then use other skills to burst them down or coordinate it with allies, things like that. This would be a good time, I think, to talk about a little bit the effects. Like, our effects artists have done a great job on this, and
Oh my gosh, yeah.
as Ruby was saying, basically to represent how many you have active and which ones, so you can see as a player or as an enemy, seeing the Revenant and see which positions around the circle they are, or if you can see the graphics, because they are different effects for each one. Like one of them might be like a claw, or one might be a heart, things like that. It's a cool way to visualize and show these pulsing facets around you without having to do these crazy effects like constantly in a big radius.
You
So
can't
it
get them
reduces
all
noise
up
as
at once.
well.
I tried. He sat there and laughed at me for like 5 minutes while I was hitting them as fast
Yeah,
as I
it's
could. Wait, I
close.
went them all.
You only can have up to -10 degen basically, so having them all up costs more than that, so you can't, but you can have up probably like 4 to 5 and drain most of your energy really fast, or you can keep up 1 or like 2 to 3 depending on which ones, for more extended durations. So this last
Look at the elite
facet,
outfit.
yeah.
Yeah.
Facet of Chaos, you basically pulse protection to allies around you. As you're doing that, like, it applies protection, so you really help bolster up you.